My friends, I like to think of life as a ledger. Not a diary, not a calendar, not a to-do list, but a ledger. A record book where every day, every choice, every small habit gets entered, whether you notice it or not. And what fascinates me is that most people never take the time to look at their own books. They're too busy watching what others are doing, comparing incomes, comparing opportunities, comparing blessings, never realizing that their own ledger is being written every hour of every day. And let me tell you, that ledger keeps honest score. It doesn't exaggerate your efforts, and it doesn't hide your neglect. It simply records the truth of your habits. Now, here's the question that changed my life many years ago. What if you treated your habits the same way a banker treats your money? What if you saw every discipline as a deposit toward your future, and every neglect as a withdrawal that quietly drains your potential? Just imagine the difference that one shift could make. Because here's what I discovered. Life doesn't respond to big, dramatic moments. It responds to small, consistent deposits. A little reading, a little walking, a little planning, a little saving, done today, and then tomorrow, and then the next day. Those are the entries that compound into a life worth living. Most people wait for inspiration. They wait for the perfect morning, the perfect schedule, the perfect feeling. But the ledger of your life does not record feelings. It records actions. It records decisions. It records what you did when the emotion wore off and only your commitment remained. That's what counts. That's what accumulates. And if there's one idea I want to place in your hands as we begin our journey today, it's this. You don't need a new life to change your results. You need new daily deposits. Small, simple entries that begin to shift the balance in your favor. Because believe me, when you begin making consistent deposits, even tiny ones, the ledger wakes up, momentum starts to build. And suddenly, what once felt impossible is simply the natural outcome of your daily disciplines. So today, I want to show you a system, a simple, practical way to make those daily deposits. I call it the 1% habit ledger. And if you give it 90 days, I promise you won't just see progress, you'll feel a shift in who you are becoming. Because the real miracle isn't in what you achieve. The miracle is in the person you must become to achieve it. My friends, welcome to the ledger of your life. Let's begin. Now, my friends, once you understand that life is a ledger, the next principle naturally reveals itself. I call it the law of accumulation, the quiet, steady force working behind every success story you've ever admired. And the amazing thing about this law is that it's always running. Whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you take advantage of it or not, it's at work every day adding up the little things. It's adding up your disciplines. And it's adding up your neglects. It never stops. It never sleeps. And it never forgets. Just think of a snowball rolling down a hill. At the start, it's small, almost insignificant. You could hold it in one hand. But give it a little push, let it roll one more turn, and then another, and suddenly the snowball isn't small anymore. It's picking up weight, speed, momentum. That's the law of accumulation. It begins quietly, invisibly, long before anyone else notices. But give it time, give it repetition, and soon enough it becomes unstoppable. What most people don't understand is that this law is completely neutral. It doesn't care whether you accumulate good habits or bad ones. It doesn't mind whether you're building strength or building weakness. It's happy to multiply whatever you give it. That's why some people look up after a year and find themselves healthier, wiser, more confident, and others look up and wonder how they drifted so far off course. Same law, different inputs. Let me make it simple. Read 10 pages a day, accumulation. Skip 10 pages a day, accumulation. Walk for 20 minutes, accumulation. Sit for 20 minutes complaining about your day, accumulation. Save $5, accumulation. Spend $5 on something you didn't need, accumulation. And here's the key. The results don't show up right away. That's what makes this law both powerful and dangerous. You see, if skipping a workout made you lose all your strength immediately, you'd never skip one. If spending $5 put you into debt instantly, you'd tighten your wallet tomorrow morning. But accumulation hides the results until the pattern is clear. until it becomes your lifestyle. By then, the momentum is either lifting you or crushing you. That's why I used to say success is nothing more than the natural result of consistently applying the fundamentals. And failure is nothing more than the natural result of consistently neglecting them. Same law. Different direction. So the big question is this: what are you accumulating? What's being added to your ledger every day? What's rolling downhill and gaining size while you're not looking? Because the moment you become aware of the law, the moment you decide to take it seriously, everything changes. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop waiting for perfect timing. You stop waiting for big breakthroughs. Instead, you begin making small, steady deposits, knowing full well that the law is on your side, multiplying every effort you make. My friends, once you start living by the law of accumulation, your life stops being a mystery. Your results make sense, your progress makes sense, and so does your potential. Because now, every little step is working for you, not against you. And that's the beginning of real change. My friends, now that we understand the law of accumulation, let's shine a little light on why so many people never see real progress in their lives. And I'll tell you the truth, it's not because they lack talent. It's not because they lack opportunity. It's rarely because they lack intelligence. No, the number one reason most people stay stuck is because they fall into what I call the trap of the big moment. You see, we've been trained, almost conditioned to believe that change comes from some dramatic turning point, some burst of inspiration, some magical day when everything finally clicks. And so we wait, and we wait, and we wait, hoping for the big moment that will finally transform our health, our finances, our relationships, our habits. But let me tell you something a wise man told me many years ago. Big moments don't change your life. Small habits do. Most people overestimate the power of one big action and underestimate the power of small daily deposits. They think one perfect day at the gym makes them fit. One book read in a weekend makes them wise. One great burst of motivation will somehow carry them 90 days, 6 months, 10 years. My friends, it doesn't work that way. If it did, we'd all have six-pack abs, financial freedom, and a library of wisdom by next week. The truth is simpler and far more empowering. It's not what you do once that counts. It's what you do consistently. Let me give it to you straight. You won't get wealthy by saving a fortune one time. You get wealthy by saving a little consistently. You won't become a reader by devouring 10 books in one weekend. You become a reader by reading 10 pages a day. You won't get in shape by running a marathon once. You get in shape by walking daily, moving daily, showing up daily. And here's the part that surprises people. The ledger of life doesn't care about your big plans. It only cares about your small routines. Most folks wait for motivation. They wait for clarity. They wait for courage. They wait for a sign. But life doesn't reward waiting, it rewards working. Not dramatic working, consistent working. Day in, day out, little by little, bit by bit, deposit by deposit. And I know what you're thinking, but Jim, small steps feel too small. Yes, they do. That's exactly why they work. They're so small you can do them even on your worst days. They're so small you can't talk yourself out of them. And they're so small they slip past your excuses before your excuses even wake up in the morning. But give those little steps 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and suddenly the gap between the person you are and the person you're becoming starts to widen. Because small steps don't stay small, not when the law of accumulation is at work. So don't wait for the big moment. Don't chase the grand breakthrough. Don't depend on the perfect day. Start with the small things. Start with one daily deposit. Start today. Because the day you stop waiting for big moments and start committing to small disciplines, that's the day progress finally begins. Now, my friends, once you understand the trap of waiting for big moments, it becomes clear why we need a simple, practical system, something you can use every single day to guide your steps, measure your progress, and keep you honest with yourself. And that's where the 1% habit ledger comes in. This is the tool that turns hope into habit, intention into action, and action into transformation. Let me tell you something important. Success is not complicated, it's organized. and the ledger is your organizer. See, most people wake up and hope for a good day. Successful people create one. Most people try to remember their goals in their head. Successful people write them down, track them, revisit them. Most people drift. Successful people document. And that's what this 1% ledger is all about, a daily document of your disciplines. Let me show you how it works. First, divide your life into 3 simple categories. Categories Jim Rohn believed every person should cultivate. 1, health, your energy, your vitality, your physical strength. Because if your body goes, everything else goes with it. 2, wealth, your productivity, your skills, your earning ability. Not just money, but your capacity to create value. 3, wisdom, your mind, your character, your ability to think clearly. Because without wisdom, wealth becomes foolishness. Now, for each category, your job is not to conquer the world. Your job is to choose one tiny daily deposit, the smallest unit of discipline you can perform without excuse. Tiny means doable. Tiny means repeatable. Tiny means sustainable. Let me give you examples. Health deposits, 20 minutes of walking. A glass of water, first thing in the morning. 10 push-ups. Stretching for 5 minutes. Small, simple, 1% steps. Wealth deposits, saving $5. Working on a skill for 15 minutes, cleaning up one part of your workspace, finishing one small task you've avoided, little by little, brick by brick. Wisdom deposits. Reading 10 pages, listening to 10 minutes of something useful, writing a few notes in your journal, reflecting on one lesson from your day. Light deposits, but powerful ones. And here's the important part. Write them down, record them, track them. Give yourself a daily score, nothing fancy, just a simple +1, 0, or 1 for each category. That's it. 3 small deposits, 3 small entries, 3 little decisions that can change your entire direction. Now, why does this matter? Because the ledger keeps you honest. It removes the guesswork. It silences the excuses. It shows you day after day whether you're moving forward, standing still, or slipping backward. And let me give you a Jim Rohn truth you should never forget. What gets measured gets improved. If you track it, you'll change it. If you ignore it, you'll repeat it. The beauty of this system is that it doesn't require motivation. It doesn't require perfect timing. All it requires is 10 minutes of clarity in the morning and 10 minutes of honesty at night. And if you do that, if you follow this little ledger faithfully, something remarkable begins to happen. Discipline becomes easier. Decisions become lighter. Habits become automatic. And consistency becomes a natural part of who you are. That's the power of the 1% habit ledger. Small steps, clear categories, daily deposits. Simple enough to do. Strong enough to transform your life. Now, my friends, once you begin working with the 1% habit ledger, you step into the first phase of real change, the first 30 days. And let me prepare you with a little truth. The first 30 days are not about perfection, they're about overcoming the drift. Because if there's one force you must learn to recognize, it's the natural pull of comfort, distraction, old routines, and old excuses. I call it the drift. It will try to pull you back to who you used to be before your new ledger began. You see, every time you start a new discipline, reading 10 pages, walking 20 minutes, saving a little money, the old habits wake up. They don't like being replaced. They don't like being challenged. And they'll whisper to you, you can start tomorrow. You deserve a break. One day won't matter. But remember, those whispers are how the drift begins. And if you let them in, they add up just like anything else. The first 30 days are where you prove to yourself that you can do the small things consistently. Not because they're easy, but because they matter. And let me tell you, the mind will test you. The schedule will test you. The distractions will test you. But that's all right. Growth requires resistance. And the drift is nothing more than a test of your commitment. Here's something I want you to remember. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. You can pay the price of ounces today, or you can pay the price of tons tomorrow. The choice is yours. In these first 30 days, the goal is not to change your life overnight. The goal is to change the direction of your life. Just by a little. just by 1%, because a small change in direction today can take you to a completely different destination tomorrow. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're steering a ship. If you turn that ship by 1 degree, just one, nothing dramatic happens in the moment. The ship still looks like it's going the same way. But let that continue for an hour, a day, a week, and suddenly you're miles from where you would have been. That's the first 30 days. You don't see the result yet, but you've changed the direction. And here's something else. In these early days, you're not just building habits, you're building identity. Every time you make a deposit, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you track your ledger, you say to yourself, I show up, I keep my word, I do the small things, I honor my commitments. That's identity. You begin believing in yourself in a way you haven't felt in years. But don't expect perfection. Expect resistance. Expect some days to be rougher than others. Expect the urge to delay, skip, negotiate. That's normal. That's human. The key is not to avoid difficulty. The key is to outlast it. To show up anyway. To mark the ledger anyway. To do the deposits anyway. Because the moment you do what you said you'd do, even on a hard day, you weaken the old identity and strengthen the new one. And that's the real victory of these first 30 days. So the goal for this phase is simple. Don't break the chain. Keep the ledger alive. Make your deposits no matter how small. Get through the drift and you'll step into momentum. And once momentum arrives, my friends, everything becomes easier. Now, my friends, once you've survived those first 30 days, once you've pushed through the drift, kept your word, kept the ledger alive, you enter one of the most exciting phases of this journey, momentum. Days 31 to 60 are where things begin to shift, not just on the outside, but on the inside, because momentum is not something you wait for, it's something you earn. See, the first 30 days are about discipline. The next 30 days are about rhythm. The first 30 days are about effort. The next 30 days are about flow. At first, your new habits feel heavy. Every step feels intentional. Every choice feels like a negotiation. But once you get past that initial resistance, something remarkable happens. Your new habits begin to feel natural, almost automatic. It's like pushing a car. At first, it takes everything you've got just to inch it forward. Your legs are burning, your back is straining, and you wonder why you ever decided to start. But once the wheels begin to roll, once they gain a little speed, you don't have to push as hard. You just guide the motion you've already created. That's momentum. And in days 31 to 60, momentum begins to serve you. You wake up and your mind already knows the pattern. You sit down to read and your brain slips into focus faster. You begin your walk and your body says, oh, we do this now. You mark your ledger and it feels less like a chore and more like a confirmation. A confirmation that you're becoming the person you promised yourself you'd be. Now, let me tell you something powerful about this phase. Compounding becomes visible. Not dramatic, not flashy, but visible. 10 pages a day becomes 300 pages in a month. A 20-minute walk becomes hours of motion your body wasn't getting before. Saving $5 a day becomes a cushion you never had. And the wisdom, the clarity, the confidence, those begin to bloom in your conversations, your decisions, your posture, your outlook. This is why Jim Rohn always said, a little discipline practiced daily is far better than a burst of enthusiasm followed by a long drought. Because consistency creates momentum, and momentum multiplies everything it touches. And here's the best part, momentum makes discipline easier. The same habits that felt heavy at first now feel lighter. The same deposits that once required motivation now require almost none. Why? Because you've built a groove. You've carved a path. You've established a standard. And when you establish a standard, you rise to meet it almost automatically. But let me give you one more truth. Momentum is priceless, but it is also fragile. You must protect it. You must guard it. You must not let one missed day become a missed week. Because momentum doesn't vanish all at once, it leaks. A little neglect here, a little excuse there, and slowly the wheels slow down. So, in this phase, your job is simple. Honor the habits that brought you this far. Keep making the deposits. Keep reviewing the ledger. Keep showing up, especially when you don't feel like it, because momentum thrives on consistency. And if you can guard your momentum through these middle days, if you can stay faithful to the small daily deposits, then by the time you reach day 60, my friends, you won't just be practicing habits anymore. You'll be living them. And that sets the stage for the final transformation. Now, my friends, if you've carried your momentum faithfully through those first 60 days, if you've kept making your daily deposits, stayed honest with your ledger, and protected your new rhythm, then you enter perhaps the most extraordinary phase of the entire journey. Transformation. Days 61 through 90 are where the seeds you planted begin to blossom. The habits you built begin to root themselves deeply. And the person you were 2 months ago becomes noticeably different from the person you're becoming now. You see, the first 30 days are about discipline. The next 30 days are about momentum. But these final 30 days, they're about identity. Because by this point, you're no longer forcing new behaviors, you're living them. You're no longer pushing yourself uphill, you're moving with a steady, confident stride. The habits that once felt unnatural now feel expected, normal, even necessary. And here's the incredible part. Your standards rise. Not because someone told you to raise them, not because a book demanded it, not because of pressure or guilt, but because your new habits require it. You start expecting more from your day, more from your decisions, more from your environment, more from yourself. It's like cleaning your room. At first, it's a chore, but once it's clean, once it's organized, your standard changes. You no longer tolerate the mess you once lived with. That's transformation. And in these final 30 days, your life begins reflecting that same internal shift. Let me give you a Jim Rohn truth that fits perfectly here. When you change your habits, you change your results. But when you change your standards, you change your life. That's what happens in this phase. Your results have been improving for weeks, small, steady, predictable. But now something bigger takes place. The change stops being something you do and becomes something you are. Now you're not the person who tries to read, you're a reader. You're not the person who tries to walk, you move daily. You're not the person who hopes to save, you're responsible with your money. You're not the person who wishes for growth, you invest in it daily. This is the stage where your self-concept shifts, where your inner dialogue changes, where your confidence deepens, not because of hype or motivation or pep talks, but because you've built a track record. You've seen yourself show up for 60 straight days. That does something to your spirit. It rewrites your belief in what you're capable of. And let me tell you, confidence built from consistency is the strongest kind of confidence there is. Nobody can give it to you, and nobody can take it away. You earned it, one deposit at a time. These final 30 days are also when others begin to notice your energy is different. Your focus is sharper. Your conversations carry more wisdom. Your choices carry more weight. Your presence carries more certainty. Why? Because the internal ledger has shifted from deficit to surplus. But let me give you one final reminder. Transformation is not the finish line, it's the foundation. What you build in these 90 days becomes the platform for the rest of your life. The habits become your normal. The standards become your baseline. And the person you've become is someone capable of achieving goals that the old version of you could barely imagine. So these last 30 days are not about adding more pressure. They're about embracing who you've become, honoring the work you've done, and stepping into the identity you've earned through discipline, momentum, and consistent daily deposits. My friends, transformation isn't a miracle. It's a math equation. A little discipline multiplied by time, multiplied by belief. That's how you become someone new. Now, my friends, after you've lived through those 90 days, after the discipline, the momentum, the transformation, there comes a crucial moment. A moment Jim Rohn always urged his students to embrace. A moment most people avoid because it demands honesty, not emotion. I call it the 90-day audit. It's where you sit down with your ledger and take a clear look at what the last 3 months have made of you. And let me tell you, this is not a moment of judgment. It's a moment of clarity. It's not about guilt, it's about growth. It's not about what you missed, it's about what you learned. Because you cannot improve what you will not examine. And the ledger, with its little plus 1 second, 0 seconds, and 1 second, tells the story better than memory ever could. Memory gets emotional. The ledger stays factual. So you start by asking 3 simple questions. 1. Who was I 90 days ago? Look at that person. Their habits, their weaknesses, their fears, their excuses, not with shame, but with understanding. That was the starting point. 2. Who am I today? Look at the patterns you built, the days you showed up, the deposits you made, the identity you strengthened, the momentum you created. These are the fingerprints of your new self. 3. What changed and what still needs to change? This is where the real insight lives. Where did the deposits help you the most? Where did the debits hold you back? What surprised you? What repeated itself? What habits faded? What habits grew stronger than you expected? Because here's the truth. Your ledger reveals what's working and what isn't. It shows you the habits that feed your future and the ones that steal from it. It shows you which categories soared and which lagged behind. And it shows you plain as day whether the law of accumulation has been working for you or against you. Now, many people are afraid to look at the ledger. They're afraid to see the misses, afraid to confront the days they drifted, afraid to recognize the patterns that held them back. But my friends, avoiding the ledger doesn't erase the results. It only prolongs the problems. Remember this Rohn truth. The purpose of looking back is not to punish yourself. It's to prepare yourself. The past becomes experience. Experience becomes wisdom. Wisdom becomes better decisions. Better decisions become better results. And better results shape a better future. That's the chain. That's the process. And it begins the moment you do the audit. Now, during this reflection, something remarkable often happens. You'll notice 1 or 2 small habits, tiny deposits that created the largest impact. Maybe it was the reading, maybe the walking, maybe the journaling, maybe the saving. Everyone has a different keystone habit. And once you identify yours, you don't just continue it, you double down on it. You'll also notice some lingering debits, those little behaviors that kept pulling you down even as the rest of your life was rising. Maybe it's the late night scrolling. Maybe it's the skipped planning. Maybe it's the excuses that kept showing up. These are the leaks. And now you know exactly where to patch them. That's what the 90-day audit gives you direction. Direction for the next 90 days. Direction for the next chapter. Direction for the next version of yourself. So don't skip the audit. Don't rush past it. Don't smooth over it. Sit with it. Study it. Learn from it. Because a life examined is a life improved. And a life improved becomes a life transformed. Once you complete this audit, the journey isn't over. In fact, in a very real way, it's only just beginning. Now, my friends, we've come to the final part of our journey together, but let me tell you, endings are deceptive. Because this isn't really an ending at all. It's a beginning, a new start, a fresh chapter, an open page in the ledger of your life. What you do with the next 90 days can become the turning point you look back on years from now. See, once you've completed your audit, once you've seen your progress and your patterns, the question becomes simple. What will you do with what you've learned? Because knowledge is only potential power. Wisdom is only potential strength. It's the action that gives it meaning. It's the daily deposit that turns a lesson into a lifestyle. So let me offer you this encouragement, straight from the heart. Begin again. Begin again with clarity. Begin again with purpose. Begin again with confidence you didn't have 90 days ago. Because now you're not guessing. You're not hoping. You're not wishing. You're planning. You're tracking. You're improving. That puts you in a rare category of people, the builders, the growers, the accumulators, the ones who understand that a beautiful life is not constructed in a weekend, but brick by brick, day by day, habit by habit. Now, as you step into your next 90 days, remember 3 truths. Truth number 1, success is attracted, not pursued. It comes to the person you become. And who you become is shaped by your daily disciplines. Truth number 2, you don't need dramatic changes, just consistent deposits, a little reading, a little walking, a little planning, a little saving, Do it today, do it tomorrow, and keep going. Truth number 3, every day is a new entry in the ledger. Every morning, the page is blank. Every evening, the page is filled with something. Make sure what you put on that page moves your life forward. The incredible thing about this whole journey is that the power was never in the big decisions. It was always in the small ones. It was in the daily habits, the tiny disciplines, the simple choices you kept making, even when the feeling wasn't there. That's what changed you. That's what built your momentum. That's what transformed your standards. And now, my friends, the only thing left is the decision you make tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when life feels easier, tonight. Because the ledger waits for no one. It simply records the truth. So I challenge you, politely but firmly, to begin your next 90 days with one clear intention. To become the kind of person who makes daily deposits, to live with discipline, to grow with purpose, to keep your promises to yourself, to build a ledger filled with actions you can be proud of. Because here's the ultimate reward. When you live with consistent deposits, when you honor your ledger, when you build the life you're capable of, you attract opportunities, relationships, and results that once felt impossible. Not because you wished for them, but because you became the person who could receive them. My friends, the best is not behind you. The best is ahead of you. It's in your next 90 days. It's in your next deposit. It's in your next decision. So go home tonight and ask yourself one simple question. What deposit will I make tomorrow? Answer it with action and let the next 90 days begin to work in your favor. Your ledger is open. Your future is waiting. And the next chapter is yours to write.